Dividend investing provides investors with steady cash flow over the long term. And when you reinvest dividend income, the magic of compounding can turbocharge your returns. Over the last century, dividend payments account for about 40% of the total return of the S&P 500. The best dividend stocks give you a great hedge against inflation, as they provide both appreciation and capital gains to offset rising costs. From 1991 to 2015, dividend stocks delivered more than twice the return of non-dividend paying stocks. Here's the trouble. Not all dividend stocks are created equal. For instance, a good dividend cannot make up for an underperforming stock. Similarly, a high dividend yield could be a trap that covers up erratic payouts, poor performance, or minimal growth prospects. To help you find reliable dividend candidates, we have identified 10 of the best dividend stocks available in the US stock market today. Remember, this video is meant for educational purposes only. Talk to a financial advisor before making any investments. These companies have boosted annual dividend payouts for at least 10 years with attractive yields and delivered long-term price stability. Number 1. First American Corp. First American Corp is a real estate insurance provider. The company offers an attractive dividend yield and a decent annualized average dividend growth rate over the last 5 years. FAF has the most modest 5-year average dividend growth rate of the stocks on our list. Most others have grown their dividends by 14% or more over the last 5 years. But it's also sustained nearly 25% average annual gains in earnings per share, EPS. Over the same period, that's the best earnings growth rate of all the stocks on our list. FAF is down about 30% from its January high, which has provided a temporary jolt to the stock's dividend yield. Since yield is calculated as the dividend rate divided by stock price, the lower the price relative to the payment amount, the higher the yield. Over the last decade, First American's share price growth has outpaced the S&P 500 by 2.3% per year on average. That's a great return, but it's a touch lower than other stocks on the list. Number 2, Packaging Corp of America. Packaging Corp is one of the largest package makers in the US, focusing on corrugated materials and containerboard. PKG offers a decent dividend yield and solid average dividend growth over the last 5 years. Shares are currently about 18% off the all-time highs seen in April, making the dividend yield look slightly more favorable today than it would have been in the spring. On average, the stock has outperformed the S&P 500 by 7.5% each year for the last decade. Number 3, JP Morgan, is one of the largest financial institutions in the US, offering retail and commercial banking, wealth management, and investment banking services. JPM offers a good dividend yield and has sustained excellent dividend growth over the past 5 years. JPM has been growing EPS at a healthy average rate of nearly 15% per year over the last 5 years. Just be aware that the stock's current high dividend yield is partially due to the 35% pullback in its price since October 2021. Number 4, Extra Space Storage Inc. Extra Space Storage operates as a real estate investment trust, REIT, that owns and operates more than 2,000 storage facilities. Throughout the US, EXR supports a solid dividend yield and has seen a very good average growth in the payout over the last 5 years. EXR has delivered average EPS growth of more than 16% over the past 5 years. If that continues, dividend increases should remain sustainable. The share price has fallen about 25% from its December 2021 peak, although its performance vis-a-vis the S&P 500 has been among the strongest on the list, outpacing the benchmark index by an average of 9.6% per year over the last decade. Number 5, BlackRock. Incorporated BlackRock is the world's largest asset manager and manages the iShares family of exchange-traded funds, ETFs. The company is based in the US but generates a significant portion of its revenue overseas. Average dividend and EPS growth over the last 5 years has been more modest than the other stocks on our list. Shares of BLK have declined about 38% from their November 2021 all-time high, providing investors with a more favorable dividend yield. Number 6. Texas Instruments Incorporated. Once famous for calculators, Texas Instruments earns most of its revenue today from manufacturing semiconductors, and TXN is the world's largest maker of analog chips. The company has grown dividends at an average annual rate of more than 18% over the last 5 years. That's the highest dividend growth of almost every other stock on this list, tied with Allstate. TXN has sustained average EPS growth of nearly 17% over the last 5 years. Thanks to this strong earnings growth, the company should be able to maintain a decent dividend in the future. While many other technology stocks have seen big declines in 2022, Texas Instruments has weathered the storm fairly well. The stock is about 24% off its November peak, and its largest price drop in the last decade is 30%, making it the most stable stock on the list. All others have had drops of 37% or more. The stock has outperformed the S&P 500 by 8.8% per year over the last 10 years. That makes it one of the best performing stocks on the list. Number 7. Lockheed Martin Corp. Lockheed Martin is the largest defense contractor in the world and a leading industrial stock. It makes fighter planes, helicopters, missiles and missile defense systems, satellites, and space vehicles. LMT presently has a more modest dividend yield and the second slowest rate of average dividend growth over the last 5 years. Earnings have grown at an average rate of 12.3% over the last 5 years. The stock has outperformed the S&P 500 by nearly 8% a year on average over the last decade. Like TXN, Lockheed has weathered the tough markets of 2022 better than many other stocks. Shares of LMT are about 13% off their March 2022 all-time high, but still up more than 18% year-to-date. Economic and political instability, such as we're seeing around the globe today, is favorable for Lockheed. Number 8. Home Depot Inc. The Home Depot is the largest home improvement retailer in the US, Canada, and Mexico, with more than 2,300 stores. HD is one of the largest consumer discretionary stocks. HD has sustained an average dividend growth rate of 16.4% over the last 5 years, one of the best payout growth rates on this listing. Meanwhile, annual earnings were up by an average of nearly 19% over 5 years, second only to FAF. And HD has handily outperformed the S&P 500 by an average of nearly 8% a year for the last decade. As the retail and housing markets cooled in 2022, so did shares of Home Depot. HD is down more than 30% from its December 2022 all-time high, offering dividend investors a great opportunity to buy a company with a compelling growth story. Number 9. Allstate Corp. Allstate is the largest casualty and property insurer in the US, and it has sustained the strongest average dividend growth rate, more than 18%. Tied with TXN, of nearly every stock on this list over the last 5 years. That said, Allstate average earnings growth rate has been more subdued, up by an average rate of 10.9% over the last 5 years, the lowest growth rate on the list. Shares are about 10% off their April 2022 highs, and the dividend yield is modest. Number 10. Union Pacific Corp. Union Pacific operates the largest rail transport network in the US. It also has interests in a leading Mexican railroad company and ships goods between the two countries. While UNP has the lowest dividend yield on our listing, the company has grown its payout by an annual average of 16.5% over the last 5 years, one of the highest dividend growth rates on this roundup. Looming recession fears have impacted UNP, and the stock is about 25% below its most recent all-time. That could provide an attractive entry point for dividend investors looking to own a growing company. Earnings have increased at an average rate of 13.8% over the last 5 years, and Union Pacific has outperformed the S&P 500 by a very modest 2.8% per year over the last decade. So, these are the 10 best dividend stocks in US. If you think this video helpful to get an idea about dividend stocks in US, please make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to channel. See you in the next video.